3, 2, 1, and
Go ahead. Go ahead.
all right. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? The greatest tag team in pop culture podcast history coming at you right here. It is PS Comics. I love you. And this is episode 51, just this and one more to go. And it's the end of season 1, and we will take a little nice hiatus. But nonetheless, we are bringing you all the news and notes and all the kind of cool stuff that's going on in the world of pop culture right now. We are smack dab in the middle of it right now. But without further ado, before we move any forward, allow me to introduce to you, as always, every single week. He is the man who never skips leg day. He is JR, the Dark King, Cabacungan. You can find him. What up? Also, not JR Comics 42. Got to get that cheap plug in there on Instagram. And as always, yours truly. I am, well, my boy, because I introduced him. I'll let him introduce me.
The one, the only voice of reason, aka Kevin Pillow, aka the man with the mouth and the man with the golden tongue.
I've been watching a lot of Ric Flair promos lately,
I sound like it. Yeah,
I tell you one thing. I've been on a little kick, bro. Not totally down with Peacock and the new way they're presenting the WWE network. I miss the old WWE network. If I were Vince McMahon, I would return the $1 billion to NBC Universal and say, I want to take back what once was mine and make the WWE network great again, because it's terrible. But I have delved down the rabbit hole of content over the last week or so and rewatched Undertaker: The Last Ride. And if anybody is a wrestling fan or just an Undertaker fan or whatever, I highly recommend that documentary. It's on Peacock on the WWE section. It is a 6-part series now. They actually added a new episode. It's a 6-part series on the life of Mark Calloway, the Undertaker. So I know this isn't a shill for the Peacock network, but it is a cheap plug for the Undertaker: The Last Ride. Highly recommend it. So without further ado, my man, it is, as we record this, we're just hours away from probably one of the most hyped episodes of Loki. And we are just 2 days removed as we record this, or actually about 2-3 days removed from Black Widow finally making its triumphant debut on both Disney Plus, Premier Access, and of course in theaters. As we have reopened California, so are the theaters. And JR, I know that we still have not yet made a decision on whether or not we are going to do a watch along for episode 52, or if we're just going to do a full review, full spoiler, whatever. Where are you at on your hype level, and are you going to go see it in the theater?
Theaters, no. My hype level was I think it's the same when I had it for, I think, the first Ant-Man. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna go into it open-minded. I'm definitely excited that Scarlett Johansson's finally getting a movie. You know, finally getting her own movie.
Yep.
But 2, I'm just excited, to see what comes out from it. You know, like what are we gonna see from either the Black Widow storyline, and who's gonna inevitably, hold up the mantle of Black Widow or whatever have you. But yeah, I'm excited for Florence Pugh. I'm excited for the other characters that are in Black Widow. Hopefully they'll make an appearance elsewhere, because I do know that Florence Pugh is, I think that's her name, Pugh or Pug.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I know that she's gonna be in Hawkeye, because she's now credited to be in Hawkeye as her character. So that's gonna be a cool thing to see.
Well, yeah, and I would say also, rumor has it, before we get into news notes, I don't think you had this in your news and notes, but rumor has it that, speaking of Scarlett Johansson, according to comicbook.com, page 6 is reporting that Scarlett's pregnant. Of course, with her newest husband, that would be married. Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live. That's why she hasn't done a lot of press.
Yeah, whom she's been dating since like what 2017, ever since she was divorced from
Something
her
like that.
first husband. Yeah,
Yeah, this would if she is indeed pregnant, this would be her second child. Of course,
yeah.
her first husband was her first child, but nonetheless,
Mhm.
we will, of course, when it becomes official, we'll talk about it. Good for you if you are Scarlet. If not, damn you, Page Six, for once again getting something wrong. So let's get right into it. It is the season of summer movies.
Yep.
And what comes with summer movies, JR, is typically trailers for future summer movies or that holiday season. And let's get right into it. For the umpteenth millionth time, Amazon getting in on the action this time. Amazon
Mhm.
is putting their twist on a classic tale that has been done by numerous studios over numerous decades. We are getting Amazon's Cinderella, and it has got a teaser trailer out with a
Yep.
release date of September 3rd of this year.
Mhm.
JR, they jokingly talk about how Hollywood has completely ran out of things to do. That's why they're on this comic book kick, or they just keep rehashing, like people that crap on how many more times can they do Spider-Man? How many more times can they do Batman? How many more times can
Mhm.
they do Superman? That they run out of ideas. No one ever talks about how the fact that they've done at least 5 different Cinderellas since I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's it, technically at this point, people are gonna associate Cinderella with Disney because Disney is probably the most famous one out of all of them. Even though
Yeah,
people tend to forget that it's I think a Brothers Grimm story, if I remember correctly, or it's a
yeah,
German story. So it's a
it's
German
I
fairy tale.
believe, yeah, I think it is. I want to say it's a Brothers Grimm, or it's a whatever the other one.
Yeah,
There's a I think it is a Brothers Grimm story, but of course I think it
it's
was
not. Yeah,
shortly after the turn of the century, going into the 20th century.
yeah, it's
It
yeah,
became
it's
what was
definitely
it
not.
public domain.
Yeah, it's the after. It's definitely not gonna be taking representative of the Brothers Grimm story because that would be insane.
Mm-mm.
It's definitely a different iteration of the Disney story, which
Yeah.
or the more widely represented because one is Camila Cabello, you know, and it's gonna the trailer looks very much
Ah,
I would expect out of a Disney film,
yeah.
a live action Disney film, but at the same time, like, hey man, it's whatever, cool.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's just basically for all those little girls coming up that have that will see Cinderella in a different light right now. I think the Cinderella that I grew up with, of course, is going to be the traditional, the traditional Disney one,
The animated one.
as well as the Brandy one. I remember
I was
that
gonna
one.
say the Brandy one, and then of course there was one I think Disney did, and it was like their attempt at doing a live action Cinderella, but it was kind of came out. So I think there's been 4 different versions of Cinderella, counting the
Yeah.
animated one from back in the 1950s.
Hmm.
But yeah, like JR says, the Brothers Grimm, are typically or have been the authors of a lot of the modern
Yeah.
fairy tales, so to speak, that we see turned into the Disney animated features.
Yeah.
And people, like JR said, it associates, you say Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty,
Hmm.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs,
The Mermaid,
the
all of them.
Little
Hmm.
Mermaid. Those are all immediately associated with Disney, which rightfully so. They've done an incredible job with their animation. But those were books. They were books or short stories or whatnot.
Yeah.
And like JR says, the Brothers Grimm, you do it word for word. They're not fairy tales. They're almost horror stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think in Cinderella, of course, we know this classic story. Spoiler alert, that she loses the glass slipper at the ball. Prince Charming goes from house to house to try to find the foot that matches. But isn't it something like they find it's a severed foot or something like that, and they try to find
Some,
the
yeah,
it's something
some crazy.
weird.
Yeah, some great like I think the Little Mermaid one is all
Yeah, Little
kinds
Mermaid
of
is
fucked.
it's
Yeah.
all kind of effed up.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you
I
said.
wasn't talking to you, Siri. Goodness,
but
go
yeah,
sit in the corner, Siri.
yeah, so definitely for but then again, for those kids too who I don't know if you are watching listening to this, if you have if you've read any type of like modern day comic, you know what you're in for. Specifically, if you read the Grimm
Yeah,
stories, though. But other than that, man, just kind of moving on. A pair of Jungle Cruise trailers have released also, with the
yeah, because
stars of the
that's coming
movie.
out this month.
Yeah, that's coming out this month, and so you see this this very rock-esque movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have
Mhm.
high Oscar level expectations out of
No.
this movie. I don't have really high expectations out of it. I expect to have fun
Yeah.
and enjoy time with my family that we are already discussing. There's a possibility we go see this in the theater as a family, but then there's also a possibility that we throw down the $30 and see
Yeah.
it on Premiere Access. But I think it comes out while we are
You guys are
on
away when you're doing it.
vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we may not see it in theaters after all. But I don't know. It's gonna be tough to do two Premiere Access movies in 1 month, but
No.
you know, $30 is 30 bucks. It's what you're
Yeah.
gonna spend to go to the theater anyways.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, too, like the trailers, the movie itself looks like it looks what I would expect out of a Rocky Johnson movie type of
I
thing.
have a Dwayne Johnson movie. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. You're gonna get your money's worth.
Hmm.
You're gonna throw some popcorn back and just have a good time.
Hmm. That too. Don't Breathe 2 trailer came out. For those of them, it is continuation of Don't Breathe 1, where it had to do with three would be robbers, I guess,
I
breaking
don't know
into.
much about the.
Yeah,
You have to refresh me on this one.
it's basically what happened was that is three would be robbers broke into a house that is uh that is owned by an old man who's blind, but he has this super. I don't know. It's like it's a horror film. It's a horror film where the blind man is actually the killer slasher, right? And he
Oh, okay. I
has
think I remember
such an
this one.
acute sense of hearing that he knows if you make any type of noise or movement, he knows exactly where you are, type of thing. And I briefly watched the first one. You know, it was definitely one of those things like, I why should I care about three would be, robbers robbing a house, right? Even if
Yeah,
one of them is even if one of them is a girl, I'm like, whatever, I kind of tune in and out of the movie, so it's all I know that it was sparked enough uh good faith, I guess, to warrant a second film. But here we are. The one thing that I am super excited about is The Walking Dead season 11 teaser trailer that came out this week as well. Is the final season finally? It,
this is the major COVID delayed
yeah.
um version of I think the Walking Dead. This was supposed to come out. This is the second half, right? Or is this
The first part. It's the first part.
okay?
It
So
was
did we already get the part two of of
the later
season
season, yeah.
9? Okay,
Of
okay,
season 10, they did that. They released the last couple of episodes, I think, earlier this year, and now they're because inevitably we were supposed to start season 11 already, right, in the first half of the year, and then it would probably finish off in the second half of the year because they were still. I'm pretty sure they're still doing the two Rick movies. I think, but as of right now, it's just that this is all we're getting at the moment, which is cool. I mean, for me, as have been a big fan of the show for a very, very long time. I will say now that the comic has ended. It is taking a very much different turn, different take from the comics because one, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We freaking the sun is not alive. So when you have Carl alive, literally alive at the very end of the comic books, right? As basically another iteration of his dad, Rick. Like you'd think that he would still make it near the end, but no. And so it's taking definitely takes. Like a lot of people that are still there, comic wise, shouldn't be there, comic wise, type of thing. So
yeah,
overall, I'm still kind of excited, to see to see how this
yeah.
plays out. I mean, it's 11 years, so.
I've never gone into The Walking Dead. I've never fancied myself a zombie fan. And again, the Walking Dead is, I think early on I was very like cynical towards it because I was like, oh God, just get off this zombie kick. No one cares. Like it's like I didn't care about Shaun of the Dead. I didn't care about the
How
Night of the Living
dare
Dead.
you not care about Shaun of the
I
Dead?
don't get it. I don't get the obsession with zombies, and they freak me out. I don't do well with horror movies, anyways.
Okay.
But I've watched a couple episodes of The Walking Dead, and I know it's different.
Yeah.
It's really not zombie centric. I mean, it's like the backdrop, so to speak, and it's a very character driven show. And maybe I'll give it another shot. Maybe when it's all done, I'll just do a straight binge on it. But I mean, it's the actors who've come out of it. I mean, you have obviously like someone I can't think of the actor's name, but I mean, the woman who plays Okoye from the Marvel Cinematic Universe is from there. Michael Rooker started there. I know I think he was like just in the first season. But I've learned to appreciate it where it stands in pop culture and don't hate on it as much. And it's one of those shows where I may not watch it, but I'm not going to root against it. So, maybe I'll link the trailer or some of these other trailers to our Facebook page, facebook.com/PS Comics I Love You. Moving to a trailer I have seen a couple of times, and a show that I absolutely I will say this till the day I die, and no one will ever be able to argue me off my pedestal. You can throw Breaking Bad, you can throw Dexter at me, you can throw Deadwood, you can throw The Walking Dead, you can throw Game of Thrones, you can even throw Friends and Seinfeld at me. No one will ever convince me otherwise that David Chase's The Sopranos is not the greatest television show that was ever created. I've said that for years. I will take it to my grave. There's nothing that can beat it. And finally, we have gotten the Sopranos movie that we never knew we needed, but we long needed, and that is The Many Saints of Newark, a Soprano story. Now, this trailer came out about a week or so ago, and it was kind of advertised, JR, as a story about Tony Soprano, young Tony Soprano.
Yeah, prequel.
And I think it kind of still is. And obviously it stars James Gandolfini's son, real life son, playing young Tony Soprano. So obviously, it's a young James Gandolfini, it's James Gandolfini's real life son playing a younger version of his dad's most prolific character. And I contend that Tony Soprano is arguably one of the greatest television characters too of all time. I'm just such a homer for The Sopranos. But this is a great trailer because it kind of tells you it's not just a Tony Soprano story, and right in the name, it's finally giving us a backstory on one of the most talked about characters in the original series that never appeared in the original series, and that is Dickie Moltisanti. And you're going, well, wait a minute, why do I know that name? If you're a Sopranos fan, you're wondering, why does that name sound familiar? And that is because Christopher Moltisanti, of course, the second lead, Tony's young nephew, that's his dad. Of course, it's Tony's uncle, but of course, in The Sopranos, everyone's uncle and cousins and nephews and whatever. But we get to see a little bit of, and also Ray Liotta once again playing in a mob movie. Go figure. It just looks really good. And the reason I say it's talking about the movie or the show. Oh yeah, no, sorry, actually the movie. God, I can't get out of my head that it's a Sopranos movie. The movie is probably going to be geared towards Dickie Moltisanti, is because Moltisanti means in Italian many saints, hence the Many Saints of Newark. So I learned a little tidbit online. They were talking about the breakdown of it, but it looks great. Great cast. The other actress, God, I can't think of her name right now. I'm gonna have to pull it up. But she was actually in The Departed, which I absolutely loved her in. And that is Vera Farmiga. She plays young Olivia Soprano.
Vera Farmiga, for those who don't know, not only is she gonna be attached to this movie, she's also original Phoenix from X-Men, from the X-Men series. So Vera Farmiga, I'm happy that she is still getting work.
Wait, she was?
Yeah, Vera Farmiga.
Am I not thinking of the same? Am I not thinking of the same actress?
Are you? Is it the same person?
I think you're thinking of the wrong actress,
bro.
Vera Farmiga is from the Departed, Orphan, Up in the Air, The Conjuring, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Unless
Yeah, you're thinking of someone else.
okay,
Is the original Jean Grey?
the original Jean Grey, because I'm. This is a very just text me.
But they both have very unusual
Very similar
names.
names, yeah.
Um, both God, I can't think of her name because it's such an unusual name.
I do remember from The Conjuring, though. I will say that I do remember from The Conjuring, but then
And I
once,
do remember her from King of the Monsters too. Like I said,
yeah,
I absolutely um I love that. I think the King of the Monsters was probably my favorite of the Godzilla um movies. The actor was you're thinking it was Famke Janssen,
that's right.
who played Jean Grey, who also is a fabulous actress, very
Right.
underrated. Kind of did made a career out of indie films, and with the exception of X-Men 1, 2, and 3.
She was in GoldenEye, so I'll give the thumb to that.
That's right. She
She was
was
in
in
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no foreplay. That was I just remember Pierce Brosnan saying that to her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. All Saints, the Many Saints of Newark, a Soprano Story releases in fall of 2021, and it will be in theaters and HBO Max. I'm extremely looking forward to that. I know that I will get to have the TV all to myself when that comes out because my wife just hates The Sopranos. She doesn't do real well with the mob movies.
I mean, I never really get into The Sopranos myself, particularly. Like, I've always been a fan of mom movies, but like, I don't know. I just never really get into The Sopranos myself. I'll probably be definitely be one on the take of like what you're doing was it with Walking Dead. I'll probably do this. Probably do like
Sit
the
down
same
and
thing with
binge it.
Sopranos. Possibly, just see how
It's
I
a
feel about it.
very bingeable
Yeah,
series.
it's a very it's probably right around the same length too of Walking Dead,
It's
and
about
so
it's I think they vary between because it was the way
it's kind of
HBO
yeah.
was I
They
think they
do
were
like very
between
short seasons, I
yeah
think.
they're 13 to 15 episode season
Mm,
and they're 9 seasons but one of them was broken up during the writer strike.
yeah,
So yeah, anyways, and nonetheless, if you haven't watched it and you are a fan of mob movies, like Goodfellas and Casino and The
yeah.
Departed and stuff like that, it's a must watch. um James Gandolfini he's perfect. He's just that's the best way to describe it. He is perfect in that movie. The mother, the woman who plays Olivia Soprano in the original series is also fantastic. It's a great cast. The whole cast was great, but James Gandolfini was just like I said, perfect in
Yeah.
that role. And he's probably damn near perfect in any role he's ever really done. But before I get too far down the rabbit hole on my fanboy of The Sopranos, let's get to something that
Before.
I know for a fact when this trailer dropped
Mm,
on, I think it was on Sunday. Is it Saturday or Sunday?
mm,
When this
Sunday.
dropped, I immediately thought of JR and went, he
Mhm.
is fanboy, probably even bordering on fangirling. He's probably squealing with such delight over this because I think it looks cool.
Absolutely.
And that is Star Wars Visions.
Hmm.
And no, this is not a crossover between Marvel and Star Wars. This is a Lucasfilms handing over the animated keys to the car of their animation department to I think it's what 6 of the largest anime studios in Asia.
It's one of them. It's definitely I want to just for those who not aren't with us yet. At Star Wars Visions teaser trailer came out, of course, and that it's basically a huge anthology story series, right? Kind of similar to that of like Batman, what Batman what they did with Batman and The Matrix back in the day, where they just gave a bunch of anthology stories to these huge movies, and then they gave it to anime divisions, to anime studios in Japan, very prominent ones, and they just did a bunch of like short story films, right?
Yeah,
Very similar in this sense, and yeah, like a lot of the studios in this are very well known, well rounded ones. And there are still some ones that I still haven't necessarily recognized. Like, there's one that was called Studio Corrido, where I'm not really familiar with their work. There's another one. There's a singular artist there named Kamazaki Doga, who's gonna be doing or heading most of the art of like the one or two stories that each of these companies will do. But yeah, man, it's like a bunch of these bunch of these studios, man, are like, wow, I can't believe they got them type of thing. And I'm hoping too,
Yeah,
because
this
of
was a big
yeah, well, I'm hoping too that because of the recent controversies with Netflix, with studios, specifically Studio Mappa, who did, for those who know, Jujutsu Kaisen series, which is going to be probably anime of the year, as well as Attack on Titan final season. Like, yeah, they Studio Mappa is doing Yosuke, which is the first black samurai, that the historically first black samurai that was a retainer in Nobunaga Oda's army, where Netflix is paying them shit, complete fucking
yeah.
shit, and that yeah, that needs to be fucking, talked about in notes. I'm hoping that Disney, the Star Wars division, is not going to take that approach and just pay these people, because these guys are going to make some freaking fire. Specifically, Studio Trigger, which is in it, Cinema Citrus, freaking Project IG. I'm talking about some legends, bro. Studio Trigger is doing two films called The Elder and The Twins, and they're the makers of the famous Kill la Kill, Darling in the Franxx, and they're also having another one up too, I think, in the later part of this year or next year. Cinema Citrus is doing The Village Bride. They did Rising the Shield Hero, which is one of my freaking favorite animes of 2019. Studio Colorido, which I talked about, they're doing Tatooine Rhapsody. Gene Studio doing Lop and Ocho. They did an anime called Golden Kamuy. Science Saru is doing TP and B1, TPB1 and Akikiri. They did Lu Over the Wall and a bunch of other like these like how do I say, Lu Science Saru is very, if people know Studio Ghibli is, they're Studio Ghibli adjacent type of thing, where they make these one-off stories. Project IG, which is probably the most well-renowned studio within this whole bunch, right? Specifically in anime, they're doing the Ninth Jedi, which is gonna be fucking sick. Because I've seen some of the stuff for that one. I'm like, okay, they're gonna put some stuff this. They're the guys that did Ghost in the Shell, Haikyuu, Fully Cooley. They're gonna be doing a bunch of other stuff too. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who watch anime, especially in the States, they if they don't know the project, if they don't know Production IG by name, they probably know them by anime. So they probably did a lot of your favorite animes. Kamazaki Dogu, like I said before, he's doing the Duel, which is it's crazy because he's the guy. It's gonna be, I for sure it's gonna be a CG oriented battle, because he did Batman Ninja, or he helped helm Batman Ninja CG. He also did a bunch of CG animations and cutscenes for a bunch of like Japanese video games. But I'm super excited for this one, because like for a very very long time, Star Wars is basically, like we said before, and like what George said before, it's a combination of like East and West, where like the Jedi are basically samurai. Like their
Hmm.
code is samurai. Like it is the Bushido code, and it is very much living the way. Like freaking, uh,
Well,
oh,
Lucas has said that a
yeah,
lot of it is based on Kurosawa films.
yeah, on Kurosawa films, as well, like the whole origin of the Force and being one with the Force is basically yin and yang. It
It's
is
very Eastern, Western, or
Eastern stuff.
Eastern philosophy and religion. So
Yeah, while of course freaking the bounty hunters, the I mean, like I'm pretty sure I've made it known before in a past Star Wars episode, where like, yeah, the Mandalorians are the gunslingers of the West, while the Jedi's are the samurais of the East. Like I'm
yeah.
pretty sure I've said that
Oh
before.
yeah.
So like it is easily, retainable for that. And not only that, but I'm pretty sure Dave Filoni is definitely fucking like super excited for this too, and he cannot wait, because he's a huge anime fan as well. And so
Oh yeah.
just seeing this right
Well,
here, I'm
they
gonna be
they've
freaking
even
excited.
said, I
Yeah.
think in one of the teaser trailers. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because you brought up a great point. That a lot of these, I think I was reading one of the reports that some of these animators met with Dave Filoni and John Favreau, and they are very much involved. That almost like the business operation of Lucasfilm is being handled by Kathleen Kennedy, but the day to day operations of the Star Wars universe, and what goes on with the production of Lucasfilm projects is being handled by Filoni and Favreau. And I know that right now they have a non Star Wars project in production, and that, of course, is Indiana Jones 5, which has had a little setback with Indy getting hurt on set, with Harrison Ford getting hurt. So, Kathleen Kenney's got her hands full. So having someone like Filoni and Favreau step up, and I think, like you said, Filoni being the huge anime fan he is, this is right up his alley. He's got to be just geeking out.
Oh,
while we're on the subject of Star Wars, and I am really stoked. I'm not an anime fan by any stretch of the imagination. I don't hate on it, but it doesn't. A lot of it doesn't speak to me. This intrigues me because it does take, like you said, the Star Wars idea, the whole concept, like JR said, of Star Wars, the Jedi, the lightsaber, the light, and the Force, and the dark side, very Eastern philosophy, very Eastern religion based. So it's only fitting that a culture that has embraced this franchise for over 40 years really finally gets to put their stamp on it, other than being the inspiration for this entire franchise. So yeah, I'm interested in it to pay homage myself to the creators, but maybe you can flip me. Maybe you can finally make me an anime fan. I think the closest thing you're going to get to anime with me is Pokemon. So I know that my daughter is enjoyed what's the big fluffy cat's name that was like just recently an anime film, and it's like the little girl sees the cat or something like that. I can't think of the movie. It's like on HBO Max. It's not Gitaro.
You're probably thinking about a Studio Ghibli film where that is like very much Studio Ghibli is basically in story wise is Disney of the East.
Yeah.
And very much that in school.
Yeah. Now it's gonna bug me what it is, but nonetheless, my sister enjoyed watching the old, not just the Americanized version of it, but like even the heavily dubbed versions of like Sailor Moon and whatnot back as a kid, back in the mid 90s and late 90s. So that's the extent of anime for me. Real quick before we move on, you're probably wondering why I threw up the black and white on the background here. If you're watching the YouTube channel, flashing the colors of the New World Order, NWO for life. I can't forget, for life. I know I'm not as cool as Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, or Kevin Nash, but this week, JR, you want to make yourself feel old, bro? This week, bro, 25th anniversary of the creation of the New World Order in WCW, and arguably one of the greatest factions in professional wrestling history, of course, culminated with the immortal Hulk Hogan flipping and becoming what they call a heel, if you're not down with wrestling lingo, and basically kicking the old red and yellow to the curb and flash the black and white for many years. But a 25-year anniversary of the creation of the NWO. Fun fact for you, I was listening to Scott Hall do a podcast a couple of weeks ago. To this day, 25 years later, both himself, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan all receive at least $100,000 each in merchandise royalties on the NWO brand from the WWE to this day. In 2020, they made six figures on NWO branding merchandise featuring their likeness in 1 year, and that's 25 years removed from the creation. That's just crazy. That's how much the black and white rocked for so many years.
I'm just happy that was it. That Scott Hall is getting any form of freaking money right now, dude. So
he's completely changed his life. The guy actually, if we can nerd out on wrestling for a second here, Scott Hall, JR's talking about, if you don't know, Scott Hall, of course, one half of the quote Outsiders. He was also known as Razor Ramon back in the old WWF days in the the mid 90s. Scott Hall, aka the bad guy, he used to toothpick flicks at hey yo, had a little problem with substance abuse, would show up to wrestling shows drunk, high, effed up in the head, whatever. dude was on death's
Like
doorstep,
years ago.
and
Yeah.
finally another guy by the name of Diamond Dallas Page grabbed him and said, "Bro, that's literally what he said. Bro, you need to come with me. You're gonna stay with me. You're gonna stay in my house. You're gonna stay under my rules." And he made him do of all things yoga, and it saved his life.
Yeah.
Scott Hall is one of, if not, and this you ask any wrestler from the Indies up to Hall of Famers, Scott Hall is one of the greatest minds of all time in the business, and I know that Vince McMahon, and in the case DDP, will do everything they can to preserve that mind, because he's actually gone back and he's given back to the youth. And this is a guy who is very all about me, bro. He left WWF to go down to Atlanta and wrestle WCW for more money, less dates. And now he's hanging out with his buddy Shawn Michaels in Orlando, teaching the young kids. And dude, bro, you live in Orlando.
Yeah.
You're making probably six figures a year from Vince McMahon, plus you're getting your NWO royalties.
Mhm.
What's better than that, Chico? Yeah, I'd be Scott Hall any day of the week. Kevin Nash, big sexy. I mean, dude can cash checks all day long in Hollywood, and then Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Hulk Hogan.
It's
But
definitely I'm definitely happy for Scott Hall, man, because I remember seeing one particular video where he was supposed to be wrestling at like the age of like what 50 something, and he looks like he's 80.
oh
And
yeah,
so,
he does
like,
not look good.
and the guy he was supposed to wrestle, like, dude, like, I don't want to wrestle Scott Hall. Are you kidding me? You can't do that. And so like it was
I
a
was at
bad
a show.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that was crazy.
2003. I was with a friend of mine at a UPW show, Ultimate Pro Wrestling. It's in Anaheim. They, for the longest time, were what they call a feeder fed for the WWF.
Mm.
And they were doing an anniversary show, and Vince sent a bunch of wrestlers to this event in Anaheim. It's a little venue just next to Anaheim Stadium. And we went, and one of the people they sent was Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And I was like, bro, I get to see the freaking outsiders wrestle. And Scott Hall came out, and I'm like, oh man, he is effed up. And Kevin Nash, bless his heart, did everything he could to keep that guy standing on 2 feet. But it was just a shit show. But he's got his act together. Good for him. I know that JR, you seem like you kind of got a little bit of a little bit of a fanboy left in you for the bad guy. But
I mean, hey man, like all the late 90s, early 2000s, this all my next door neighbor Adam Perez, man, he's still around, bro. Like, I would always go to him for all the WrestleManias, all SummerSlam, everything for both for WCW and for
WWF.
WWF back in the day, right? So like, yeah, I one week we'd rock freaking NWO, the next week we rock freaking we would rock Generation X.
See,
So
Generation
that's
X.
always been my childhood, man. So I can't, like, I'm as an older adult, as an adult now, and looking at how like the wrestling business has fucked over a lot of my favorite wrestlers. I am way more than happy that Scott Hall is getting $100,000 just for like stuff he did way back in the day, man.
Oh yeah, gotta love it. And again, this goes back to what I talked about before. Really go back if you get a chance. If you've got Peacock, it's on the WWE section. Again, we're not getting paid for this, but it's just, I'm a fan of this stuff, and I want to help push the fans to stuff that I know that you guys are going to enjoy. That's why sometimes JR and I will reference shows and podcasts and other content, because we know we don't, first of all, let you know, we're not getting paid to do this. As a matter of fact, if you broke it down, JR and I are probably losing money on this podcast.
If honestly, we should not be throwing this, but
but at the same time, we're all about telling you fans what you can and can't enjoy. Couple of things. One, it's NWO week. If you're a big NWO fan, go check it out on WWE.com. They've got all kinds of cool content. And like I said, they're going to do all kinds of old NWO videos on the Peacock network on the WWE section. And alongside, if you have a chance, go check out that Undertaker thing, because it talks about what JR is mentioning. Is there are a lot of guys that get effed over, and but really and truly, and I know it's probably a suck fest because it's produced by the WWE, but at the end of the day, Vince will take care of people who took care of him. that yeah, he's admitted he screwed some people over, but at the same time it was like, did I really? Did I really screw you over, or were you
Yeah.
just so bad at what you did and didn't know how to handle it? Like he gives so many people different. He gave Scott multiple chances, but
Yeah.
that's a story. We should, you know what, probably in season 2. Let us know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. Send us an email, pscomics I love you @gmail.com. If you want us to do this a wrestling show, maybe we'll do that.
Maybe.
SummerSlam, maybe Survivor Series, and definitely maybe WrestleMania next year. Which, by the way, couple of years, WrestleMania in Los Angeles at
That's right.
Sophie Stadium. That's going to be dope. Can't wait for that.
That's right. But going
Speaking
back
of
on.
Speaking of Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
go with me on this one. Was in
Right.
LA last week. Saw this guy's pretty mug all over LA, and that is Chris Pratt. He's not doing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing The Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime.
Right.
You seem to know a little bit more about this, JR. What the hell is this movie about? Because it was all over the place in LA.
I mean, like, if any, it's definitely one of those things where, like, if I say it, you know the film already, type of thing, you know. So it's basically, let's say a war happens. All I'm gonna say is a war happens sometime in the future, and that time travel. That's it.
Okay.
All you get from me, because it's definitely one of those things where if you see the teaser trailer, you probably watched the movie.
You had me at Chris Pratt's, but yeah,
So like that's it. Yeah. So basically that's it, man. So a bunch of new releases, movies, and shows just happening this week, and one of them is of course the Tomorrow War. Now that came out I think last week. I think near the end of last week. So that's where you've been out on HBO Prime. Oh no, on Amazon Prime. HBO Prime. Amazon Prime. And those who wish another film from an amazing Angelina Jolie is coming
oh
out.
yeah.
Those who wish me dead. Those who wish me dead. And that one reminds me of a video game called Firewatch, where it takes place in a huge mountain terrain, forest terrain, and so it looks good. Looks really good. It's a different take where it has nature, but at the same time, people are hunting this child that Angelina Jolie is protecting. So those who wish me dead is gonna be released on HBO Max, Apple TV, Google Play, Amazon Prime, all the probably a lot more other streaming services. I think it is also gonna be out on theaters, if I remember correctly. I can't recall if it is or not, but then you can definitely watch it on HBO Max, Apple TV, and all those other ones. One of my favorite things coming out soon is not going to be releasing just yet, but then Resident Evil Infinite Darkness is going to be releasing on Netflix this Thursday. Cannot wait for that one. Looks pretty interesting. Looks pretty cool. I will say I'm hoping the CG animation is going to up. It's going to be a little bit better, because like some of the other terrain type of stuff that I saw was kind of but hey, as long as Leon Kenny looks like Leon Kenny and Claire Redfield looks like Claire Redfield, I'm fine with that. So cool. And one thing that I do know is coming out this week, my friend, is of course we talked about before. Black Widow will release this in theaters this Friday. Stars
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson and at the aforementioned Florence Pugh, as well as I forgot his name. I forgot his
Oh, I
name.
knew you were gonna ask me.
I know I'm gonna ask you. It's I mean,
He's the dude from he's the dude from Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. He did
David
freaking
Harbour.
David Harbour. He was also, of course, he's the recent iteration of Hellboy, and another movie he
Which
just.
I had high hopes for.
I mean, I did not.
Yeah, so we got Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, O.T. Fagbini,
Mm.
and William Hurt. You know him as Thunderbolt Ross. It's a great cast. I can't name any other names. I mean, you could go look it up on IMDb if you really want to, but I think if I name any other names, it's going to spoil stuff. But nonetheless, it's a great flick. I know because I've seen it. Not trying to flex or anything, but I am. But I can definitely say, hey, it's a good flick, and I think you guys should watch it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch a movie of that caliber on opening night at home. I think we've become a little spoiled with that. And oh, by the way, to go back, Those Who Wish Me Dead, that movie is on all the platforms that JR mentioned. It actually already has been in theaters.
Wow.
So it is actually going to hit all these platforms, like JR said. So
Hey
I
Kevin,
believe it was an early May release for.
Yeah, I was
But
actually
no,
gonna ask
go
you.
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you a question, man. Since you were the aforementioned a man with the plan who did watch the Black Widow movie at at the premiere, would you
Yeah,
like to talk about that?
the oh, what's it called? Oh god dang it.
Hmm.
Not that I want to call it the El Presidente, but it's not. It's called oh, I forgot what movie I went and saw it. The El Capitan, that's what it was.
Okay.
Not the El Presidente, the El Capitan.
Okay, so
I'm an idiot. Um, I don't want to say anything about the movie specifically,
yeah.
other than um just there's um who was it that described, I think it was comicbookmovie.com's
Mhm.
review, I think sums it up perfectly.
Okay.
It's one part James Bond, one part Jason Bourne, and one part Terminator.
Okay.
Best way to describe it. I think that um, it was a lot of fun, action packed. Uh, for a Marvel movie, good acting. I really enjoyed the cast. I mean, is it going to win an Oscar for best acting? Probably not, but
No.
I thought it was well done. And the just it was a lot of fun. I can't say anything. I want to desperately. It's been a rough couple of days, rough week since I went and saw it, because obviously it would have been 1 week ago today as we record this that I went and saw it. But hopefully for some of you, maybe as you listen to this, you have already seen it on Friday, or maybe you're going to see it on Friday.
Yep.
I do recommend, not for anything particular, not for any particular reasons, wink, I would watch all the credits.
Mm.
Just gonna say that.
Cool.
I
Cool.
don't think that's spoiling anything, and it is.
It's common knowledge at this point.
I can't even say that. Nope, I'm not gonna say anything else. I was gonna say something that may tip my hand, but
Okay.
um,
Cool. 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 All right.
let's
We'll definitely leave that
just,
there, man.
yeah, you know what?
We'll leave it at that.
Just
Keep going forward.
enjoy all things Marvel and enjoy Black Widow on Friday.
Yeah.
And I know I am definitely watching it again this weekend, if not Friday night. So,
And definitely enjoy that
anyways,
ScarJo. Yeah, definitely enjoy that ScarJo is finally in her first leading role
yes,
as the main character in a Marvel flick. So props to her, man. I'm hoping we won't see the last of her. Maybe not.
yeah.
Well, definitely. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. So.
Well, no. She did an interview where she kind of said that
This is it.
she's done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not spoiling anything. No,
Okay.
we obviously know, guys. This is not spoiling the movie. Black Widow takes place between
Before.
Civil War
Yeah.
and Infinity War.
Yeah.
Natasha Romanoff, spoiler alert from Avengers Endgame, dies in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's a movie based in the past. We've already seen her future. She has tipped her hand saying that she's kind of done.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, Kevin Feige quoted something earlier this week saying, I will find something for her to do.
Yeah. Which is great because like we've said before, Kevin Feige has been like one of the great glue guys for the Marvel universe, right? For the MCU. And he's like definitely been that guy ever since he's been handed the key to the kingdom, right? And they told the other dude to fuck off. Yeah. Like I understand why Scarlett wanted to stay back in the day, because one, they had RDJ, Chris Pratt, no, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, a bunch of really bunch of great stars in that film, the first stable basically of the MCU. And so of course you would want to stay because freaking RDJ. It's RDJ and Chris Evans, so of course you would want to stay. But moving on to that, guys, we have now going into some gaming news.
Yeah.
Gaming news that I'm actually pretty super excited for, man. Specifically, a bunch of Sony stuff. Actually, before I go into the Sony stuff, this was just announced. This was just announced a couple hours ago. A new Switch with an OLED model screen has just been announced, man, for the Nintendo.
Yes, that was announced earlier this morning,
Yep.
like Jared mentioned. I watched a couple of videos on it. Also, I want to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber podcast host, Austin John Plays, did a full breakdown of the new Switch OLED model, is
Mm-hmm.
what they're calling it. It's not the Nintendo Switch Pro. It's not. It's just called the Nintendo Switch
OLED.
parentheses OLED model.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because you're gonna want to know, $350 right out the gate. Okay, hear me out.
Not bad.
You're wondering why pay $50 more. Now, the casing of the Switch exactly the same. The Joy Cons exactly the same. The model comes with a red and blue version, much like you've seen with other versions of the Switch. The main version, the kind of the the tent pole version of this OLED model, is a first time ever white Joy Cons on each side. It is a slightly larger screen by about, I think they said by about a half a, it's like about like a half a centimeter or something like that. So it is technically a larger screen.
Yeah.
The true resolution has not yet been announced, but supposedly it is full 1080p handheld, which is not bad. But of course, when you dock it, it's whatever display you're playing it on. But the output on it is, from what I understand, between 720 and 1080p. So still not bad that you have a high definition handheld device. Twice the internal capacity, which is now 64 gigs as opposed to 32 gigs. It weighs slightly more, and like I said, it is got that OLED screen. It also has a new dock. It's a kind of a off-white dock. Same. Oh, it does have. Oh, sorry. It also, the main device has improved sound and a full-length kickstand that is adjustable. That you could. So typically with a Nintendo Switch, like if this is the back, it just has a one kind of kickstand. It's like a little leg. Well, now it's going to have. I'm doing hand motions on YouTube. It's going to have like a full length tilting kickstand that is adjustable. So you can have different different points of view with the screen. Like I said, improved audio. When you dock it, for those of you hardcore gamers that really care, on the back of the dock, it will have a port for Cat 6 connection. So you can actually hardline your Switch now for gaming. And like I said, we've talked about this before, JR, is Nintendo wants to get that niche audience. They're not going to get the Call of Duties. They're not going to get the Battlefronts. But they are starting to get the sports simulator. They are getting the Fortnite. Obviously, they have the built-in audience with Pokemon, Mario, and Zelda. Metroid's coming out, which, by the way, it's going to come out. This new Switch is going to come out in October, right around the time as Metroid Prime, or that what it is called?
Yeah, Metroid. Something I forgot the name of it. The name's definitely.
But it's for $50 more, it's worth it.
No, the biggest selling point of this, is having the OLED screen. For those who don't know the OLED screen, that's probably
I'd say the biggest selling point is the kickstand.
One of the biggest selling points. The OLED screen is possibly, quite honestly, man, a game changer, because even though the OLED screen back in the day, right, was very much a lot of burn-in, a lot of things for that. And this is coming from a guy who had a PS Vita. So I definitely know what the OLED screen, how very vibrant and bright the OLED screen can give you your gameplay. You should get like it back in the day, right? If you were a heavy enthusiast, right, of fighting games and all that stuff, you of course you'd get like CRV monitors where like they were great, right? The same this is basically the same concept with OLED screens, where like if you're talking about vibrancy and color and pop, specifically if you're a freaking Nintendo game, right? I'm talking about all the Zeldas, I'm talking about all the Marios, I'm talking about all of the way more colorful, use of dynamic range in that sense. The OLED screen is probably right up their alley. For $50 more, just a little bit more, dude, you're getting a freaking deal, because you can probably find OLED screens nowadays, but they're most likely within the like thousands upon dollars range, man. And so to have that in a small, in a small, like you can bring that anywhere type of game, a game device for you, man, that is a huge win for Nintendo, man. The OLED screen, and as well as the other upgrades for it, man, great, really good for them. I want this particular one. I definitely want this particular Nintendo Switch, man, because the kickstand, all that's cool, man. But just for me, gaming
Yeah,
wise,
it's good.
specifically if I'm going out somewhere else, dude, that OLED is nice. That OLED is nice. Like I want to see how, I definitely want to see how Breath of the Wild 1 and 2 will look like now, specifically on this screen. Because like if I could just like go anywhere, just have this the Wii, no, have the Switch device on me and just play a game here or there, dude. A full on console device in my hands, like just go anywhere. That's a huge selling point now. So the
Yeah.
OLED is definitely a little more enthusiast friendly in the sense of like wanting, the sweeter bells and whistles. That's great. That's a really great win for Nintendo, man. So props out for them, man. That's actually really, it's $50 more. So like people are gonna buy anyway. I'm pretty sure it's gonna sell out in the first hour when the
Oh
pre-order.
yeah.
So, but I'm hoping to get one. Let me get one. So yeah, but continue on to get to more gaming news, guys. Sony has been on a tear recently. Thank God, is that they've finally purchased a couple of game studios and they are rumored to possibly purchase another. So how smart, and the studios that I'm going to be talking about, other than maybe one or two, I think the one actually feels like they should have done a long time ago, right? So recently, Sony's purchased in the last about 2 weeks now. Housemark. Housemark, of course, they just made a game called Returnal. They've been with the Sony. They've been with the Sony brand for over 20 years now, if I remember correctly. I think their first game was Super Stardust on PS3. Yes, and so yeah, they just did Returnal. They did Donation, which was actually my favorite game from them. Resogun as well, and so they're much the arcade platform type. They're the arcade guys, but now since the actual like since the success of Returnal coming into the fray, and like just how that is a huge marquee game, Sony's like, all right, cool, we're gonna buy you guys up, we'll do your thing. So now I'm so happy for the guys in Housemark that they're able to do whatever the hell they want to do, and they're giving the money and then not worry about the money, not worry about all the stuff they need to worry about when you are a third party developer. So I'm happy for them, great for them. And Sony has also bought a company which which is kind of interesting to me. They bought Nick Software. Nick Software, they're mainly known for porting a bunch of like console games onto PC. They work with EOS. They work with EOS Software. They work with Square Enix, I think, and they worked with the guys who made Tomb Raider. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's so. Yeah, but yeah, they're mainly known for porting console games onto PC. So I'm guessing this is just basically a in-house type of purchase for Sony, where all right, cool, they got someone now that has dealt exclusively with just porting over games to PC instead of having someone in-house in their own studios do that themselves and try to manage resources there. So that's cool. I do know that we've had news where a bunch of PlayStation games that are still very much exclusive to the PlayStation brand are making its way over to the PC side. Death Stranding being I think one of the very first, Horizon Zero Dawn being one there as well. Um, Another zombie game called Days Gone has recently been ported over. So rather than the studios that made them porting them over, they'll have it's looking like now that Nick Software is going to be the studio that Sony will give for them to port over to PC. So that's cool. That's really cool. And the funny thing about it too, about what the purchases this week is that when news of Housemark being bought by Sony has put out there, Japan Studios, right? Usually in all their Twitter feeds and all that stuff, right? They would say, "Oh, welcome to the family," all that stuff, right? Well, Japan Studios, they kind of messed up, and they put out the welcome, the font of like "Welcome to the family," all that stuff, right? But instead of putting Housemark's name, they put Blue Point Studio. Blue Point Studio is
Oops.
another and Blue Point Studio is another studio that has worked extensively with Sony before, doing all the remasters. Like they just recently did Demon Souls PS5. They did Shadow Colossus remastered. I think they did a couple more too after that. I think Ico as well, and they kind of let loose to saying, "Hey, Blue Point Studio, welcome to the family." So it's more than likely that Blue Point Studio is gonna be purchased by Sony. So that is friggin' awesome because I am super excited for. They're the guys that deserve all the credit and deserve to have their own game type of thing. They deserve to have to make a new game and not just remasters. So I'm super excited for the inevitable news that Blue Point Studio is gonna be a first party Sony Studios and making their own freaking IP soon, man. So I'm happy about that, dude. uh, what else? What else is there? Oh, and it's actually comes in context where people are saying that, oh, this is a shot. These are shots back to Microsoft because you know how Microsoft has had been on this buying spree, buying
Yeah.
studios left and right, and they of course that huge purchase of buying Bethesda for like quite a few $billion. And this is coming in a recent article slash interview where I forgot the interviewer's name, but they asked Sony about about how does how do you feel about about Microsoft buying all these studios, about this studio, about Amazon coming to play, Google coming to play, all these studios being bought up. And Sony has remained adamant by saying, no, we're not in arms race. We're not in arms race. We've been doing things that we've been the way we've been doing it. And I'm happy about that because these names, specifically Housemark and Bluepoint, make sense. It would be like if like the Pixar Disney type of thing. Like if Pixar was still somehow third party, right?
Yeah.
And that Disney finally comes in and saying, "Hey, be part of the family," right? That would make sense, type of thing, right? And so this is very much that same essence of Housemark, Blue Point Studio, and of course the year before this, they bought Insomniac Games, which they made Spider-Man, the recent Spider-Man. I was about to say trilogy, the recent Spider-Man iterations of 2018 Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man. So it would just make sense. It makes sense. These are smart plays. They're not going crazy and trying to buy a Bethesda or another $1 billion company. It's a possibility that they might, but then they have yet to be seen. But yeah, it makes sense. They're not in a quote unquote arms race with Microsoft, nor do they want to be. You can't outbuy Microsoft. We understand that.
Nope.
You can't outbuy the big boys. So what you have to do is actually look for the studios that you have constantly been working with and see where can you develop that relationship with. So that's cool with that, man. Hey Kevin,
Yes,
i,
sir.
I know you haven't been really playing a lot of PS4, just games in general, as of late.
I was playing a little Miles Morales
Okay.
before you signed on.
Oh, cool, 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 cool. Have you ever heard of Ghost of Tsushima?
I have not, but I have a feeling I'm going to get educated right about now.
My dude, so Ghost of Tsushima originally came out in 2019. For those who don't know Ghost of Tsushima, it is a historical tale. Well, semi-historical. It is a period piece tale of when the Hong dynasty, not Hong dynasty, uh
Okay.
the Mongols try to go to Japan and try to conquer Japan, right? And you are playing as a samurai. I forgot the name of his. It was the name. His first name escapes me, but you're playing a samurai who then is going to try and protect his land. And good God, is this game amazing? Good God, like it's very you talk when we talked about Kurosawa films in the beginning.
Yeah.
This is a Kurosawa film played in video game format.
Played in video game form.
Yeah, dude, like it is the guys who made this is Sucker Punch, which is a Sony studio. They recently came out and said they're gonna make a director's cut announcement, or where they're making Ghost of Tsushima is director cuts. Is gonna be a director cut where it's adding is adding another island, is adding better Japanese dialogue lip sync, which is great. They're going to include for the PS5 upgrades. They're including the whole thing of 4K. They're gonna do 60 frames per second. Haptic feedback, depth triggers, 3D audio integration, all that stuff. I'm pretty sure Kevin has yet to hear any of that stuff. So when I bring over my PS5 and inevitably have him play Miles Morales, we're gonna do the thing. We're gonna have his PS4 play Miles Morales and my PS5 plays Miles Morales, and so he'll see the difference. He'll see the differences there.
Yeah. Do a little side by side action there.
But yeah, man, just overall, like I knew this was coming in the sense of like, we're gonna have these director cuts games, we're gonna have these quote unquote remaster games for the PS5 because of how close the PS5 was released to these other games in initial release dates. But man, like the amount of stuff that's coming out from just this expansion pack, I'll just call it that, this expansion pack, is pretty astounding, man. Because the Sucker Punch has done a great job of adding newer content into their game Ghost of Tsushima by adding Legends, which came in free. Legends is a multiplayer mode for it. They added on a bunch of other stuff. They added on the photo mode. They added on so many other things, and now it's looking like they're gonna try to really focus on the PS5 iteration of it. Where then, all right, cool, all the stuff that is specifically designed for a PS5 is now gonna be in it with this game. So I'm cool with that, man. I will say the pricing for this game is kind of weird. Like it's again, the director's cut is coming out on PS4 and PS5. So if you're getting the PS4 director's cut, it's $59.99, right? For if you never own the game at all, right? But if you do own the game on PS4, it is a $20 upgrade from your
Okay.
original game,
Interesting.
that you bought. Okay. A PS5 director's cut is $69.99, right? $70. And is a $30 upgrade to PS5 if you own the PS4 version of it, right? But if you phone the PS4 version of the director's cut and want to upgrade it to the PS5 director's cut, is $10. So it's kind of weird. I know it sounds like a mouthful because it is. If you don't own the game at all and want it on PS5, it's gonna cost you $70. That's it.
Okay.
Right. I think I got the game already, and I think I paid about $40 right when it first came out. No, when I inevitably bought it because like again I was at that time where like I was not gonna buy a game until I have PS5. And so one of those games in that time frame was Ghost of Tsushima. And so I had to wait for quite a while. And then when I got my PS5, I finally bought Ghost of Tsushima. I was playing. I'm still playing through it. I would just let that people know I'm still playing through it. And then I heard this come out. I'm not playing anymore. I'm waiting for the PS5 version. I'm waiting for the PS5 version to come out, which is gonna come out this August 20th. So I'll definitely let you guys know because I will say, as a person who does own a PS5, the upgrades that are specifically on the PS5 console already for me feel like it's worth it because, dude, 3D audio, haptic feedback, lip sync, all that stuff is definitely a great thing to have. And again, I know for me specifically, I've always been one to be very consumer focused, and so yeah, this type of like pricing is kind of weird in that sense. Hey, I'm just gonna say, hey man, like make your own judgment on this. For me, as a fan of the game already, I know for me, I'm gonna buy it. If you're coming in saying, dude, I don't know if I want to freaking pay $70, then you don't need to pay $70, man. Look at someone else play it.
Yeah.
Look at one of us play or whatever, and yeah, make your own assumptions from there, man. So I know for me, dude, I'm a huge fan of samurai films. I'm a huge fan of samurai genre, and seeing this come out and seeing how the game freaking plays so nicely, yeah, I'm waiting for the PS5 director's cut version. Any thoughts on this, my friend?
No, I think I finally understand the pricing point. So you know, I'm just gonna have to wait. So I have to check out like a trailer or something of it. I'm not familiar with the game,
Mm,
but it sounds intriguing.
dude.
But I think there's a game that's coming out again, I guess, so to speak, that I probably know more about it, having never played a minute of it, and that is the now legendary Hindenburg of video games. Cyberpunk 2077 is back in the PlayStation Store after being removed. What seems like, it's been gone for 6 months. I was gonna say, it seems like it's been gone for a couple months. This has been pulled from the PS5 store. The CD Projekt Red has been greenlit to re-release their troubled game back into the store. Jared, this is again a game that we have talked about extensively throughout this very podcast since
Mm-hmm.
almost day one. Matter of fact, I mean, one of our early episodes, we mentioned about how geeked you were for this game, and then slowly but surely, as it got closer to it coming out, you became nervous, and then when it came out, you're like, "Oh crap! I had every right to be nervous."
Yeah.
But it seems like they at least got some of the bugs worked out. Maybe they've added some new features to it to kind of spice it up a little bit. But Cyberpunk is back in the PS5 store. Uh, in a recent interview with CEO Adam Kaczynski,
Mm-hmm.
has been translated to reveal some insight to their progress. Quote, we have already achieved a satisfactory level in the regard of stability. We have also been working on the overall efficiency, and we are also quite happy about it. Of course, we also removed bugs and glitches, and we will continue to do that. I think, JR, once again, this is in the same vein of the Avengers game that they announced, was in production, a lot of hype behind it. Let's get it out to appease the fans, and we'll just work out the bugs as they come along. And that wasn't the case for either franchise. I personally enjoyed the Avengers. I know you personally did not enjoy Cyberpunk, but both of them could have used another year probably in production. But like you said, when there's a lot of things, when it doesn't, whether it's doing a TV show, a movie, or a video game, it doesn't matter. Production delays can kill a movie, can kill a video game, can kill a TV show. But at the same time, it also can kill a TV show, a movie, and a video game. Bad production value. Yeah. And I think that Cyberpunk 2077, you know what the best thing that could have happened for that video game?
Delayed.
No one ever fucking talked about it. If you are not ready to put a game, so that's the thing. A trailer, okay, a trailer is made. Okay, a trailer is made when you go into post-production. It's one of the first things you do. You start putting together some of the best stuff that you've edited already, and you put it into a little scissor reel, and you put it out there. That's what a trailer was. A trailer was some of the best clips that we've already edited, put it together, give the fans a little taste of what is to come. Okay, but no, Cyberpunk. What they did with Cyberpunk was all but release the damn video game in E3 2019 and said, "Hey, it's coming summer 2020," and they weren't damn ready. They were not ready. This would be like if they shot Avengers Endgame in January of this year and said, we're gonna have it out by the 4th of July. Yeah. Damn well that is not going to happen. I mean, to use that as an example, they shot Infinity War and Endgame back to back because they knew they needed to capitalize on the overall productivity of their production value and capitalize of having all those bodies in one place and have all the editors working together for a seamless story. If you don't have anything to put out, don't put it out. We don't know about it. We can be naive. We can put our heads in the ground.
The thing about that though is that the game, right, Cyberpunk 2077, was in production, quote unquote production, or at least pre-production since like 2013. Like it's been in pre-production since the
then bro, you've got nothing to do. You've got nothing to talk about. You should just I'm talking to the Cyberpunk production. If you've been working on this game for
quite
over 7 years, and this is what you came out with, you should quit what you're doing.
Well, here's the thing for that, like I go back to a very famous Miyamoto, Shigeru Miyamoto quote. For those who don't know, Miyamoto was basically the grandfather of Nintendo, and like he said before, a delayed game can eventually be good, but a bad game will be bad forever.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he's absolutely right.
And so, like, this just reminds you that
Zelda 2.
I mean, the thing about it too is that Cyberpunk 2077, right? The amount of animosity or the amount of bad faith now that has garnered up is astounding, because like every patch, and so the reason why the game is now back on the PlayStation Store, is because they recently released a patch. I forgot which actual patch it was, but it's for the PS4. It's for the PS4, and older consoles, right? Last gen consoles. Yeah. For it to run the game, right? For it to run, right? I played the PS4 version of it. It ran like trash. It still kind of does run like trash, and that like it would crash every hour or so, right? I think I played the game 3 hours. Every hour it crashed. Back when I got it, and so the frame rates and all that stuff, all the choppiness was still there when I initially played it. Now they have put out to the
point. I'll be right back, JR.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on a rant, bro.
Voice of reason, AFK for a second.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on a rant. So yeah, go ahead. You're good. But yeah, when the game came out, it was choppy as hell. It was pretty freaking bad, and this is coming from a fan of CD Projekt Red. I love their Witcher series. I loved hell, I love playing Gwent too. So like I wanted them to succeed because these were the guys that had all the right answers, all the good things to do. They still kind of are um um consumer friendly. They wanted it to be not about, you know, corporations and all that stuff. And so these were the guys that had all the right answers. These were the chosen ones specifically of the game space. And then they released Cyberpunk, and it wasn't that great. It was horrible. And every quote unquote promise that they've made about this game has been horrendous. And not just that, if the game was horrendous, all right, we can deal with that. But the way then that they treated their employees in the process of this was absolutely freaking horrendous as well. And from the stories, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before in the podcast, that from a employee level, right, there was no actual conversations, or there's no actual, like, uh ordinance of goals or expectation levels that could ever be matched from what the higher ups wanted, right? Like, it was insane. Like, the higher ups had these crazy lofty ass goals of releasing this game at a certain date, and the guys and the employees were like, no man, we're in coronavirus, we're in a pandemic, we can't do that. We're working from home, we can't do all this stuff. And so yeah, that too kind of really like hammed it home, like really put it on home. Like, damn, that's freaking pretty horrible. And so when the game came out, it's trash. It's better trash now, but it's still pretty trash. One specifically because the PC version is always gonna be the best version of the game because that is what the game was made for. The PC version of the game, originally the game was made for, but the highest capability of PC that you can have for this game, right? Now, for me, who has a PS5 now, playing this game, playing the more recent patch, it runs decent. It runs better. I'll say that. Is they have yet to give a PS5 or next gen patch for us because they needed this patch first. And hearing all these talks about status being, like, oh, the game runs satisfactory now, man. I'm like, just shut up and just play, and just fucking just make the game, or just shut up and just put it out, dude. I know this is a talking point anyway. They need because somebody needed a talking point to have. But like, honestly, at this point, man, like, dude, shut the fuck up and just work on your game. And it's hard for me as a fan to take anything they say serious now because in the same time frame they're coming out with a freaking augmented reality mobile game called The Witcher Monster Hunter Slayer, which is a horrible take of, honestly, if I'm being severely honest, see Pokemon Go, right?
Yeah.
How do you have how do you as a company in good faith, knowing the fucking dumpster fire that you had as known as Cyberpunk 2077, say, all right guys, let's make a new mobile game now. I don't care how long this game has been in development for. If you know for a fact, if you know for a damn fact that you just had a lot of ill will put out to the universe now because of the game that you put out, the promises that were broken to the fans, myself included, and then you want to put out a Witcher Monster Slayer game, like, who's gonna be on that? Honestly, who's gonna be on that? Like, I know for me, dude, if coming from the fact that the news came out that if your game on consoles is unplayable, I'm not gonna want to play your mobile game, as well as all the other stuff that has come to play too now, because supposedly, people, there was a back hack where if you were on PC, hackers could have um backdoored your game thing and got your information. And so it's kind of crazy to think that. And like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know what type of goodwill you're trying to put out there when you're basically splitting up what's the word I'm looking for, when you're splitting up resources on two games, and then you're trying to put out, oh guys, you remember Witcher? Yeah, hey guys, remember the Witcher? Here, man, there's a mobile game. Remember the Witcher, one of the greatest games of the PS4 era? Here, guys, Monster Slayer. Please forget about Cyberpunk 2077. Stop it, bro. Stop it. Just fix your game. Fix it. I do want to play it. I do want to finish it. But even on PS5, every hour I play it, it doesn't finish because it's still broken. So it is.
Well, yeah. Well, before JR blows a gasket, and we should always we should limit his discussion time on Cyberpunk because it just gets him upset. No, I'm just kidding. You bring great insight into the game because, like I said, we've really just in the life of this podcast over the course of the last 51 weeks, we have lived the life of this game, and so it's we want to see it succeed, but it's not helping itself. Well, as we bring this episode to a close, I know that there was something that was not added to the script because JR I know wrote the script over the weekend, and this news broke just yesterday, and that is one of the greatest directors in Hollywood history passed away at the age of 91 yesterday. And really and truly, had it not been for this man, I don't think we're sitting here talking about podcasts about nerd stuff and comic book movies. There would be probably no Marvel Cinematic Universe. There'd be no DCEU. There'd be no Arrowverse. There would be, I don't know. It just really would not have happened. The godfather of the modern comic book movie genre passed away yesterday at the age of 91. And that was Richard Donner. And you're going, like, who? Richard Donner was the director behind the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies, to the point where there actually is probably has one of the most talked about director's cuts this side of Zack Snyder. The Donner cut of Superman 2 is available, I think, on most video streaming platforms, video purchasing platforms. I know that Superman 2 kind of fell off when it came to the quality of the movie. Of course, the original, I'm trying to look it up on IMDb, the original Superman movie was directed in 1978, and I believe much like the Zack Snyder, the Justice League, Richard Donner did not direct Superman 2. Was directed by Richard Lester, and that's why they call it. There's the Richard Donner cut of the movie that came out, I think, a few years ago. But Superman 2 came out in 1980, and then of course he came. I think he came back and did Superman 3. I'm not 100% sure. No, he did not do Superman 3. But he also did movies like The Goonies. He also did Lethal Weapon 2 and 3. He did a couple episodes of Tales from the Crypt back in the late 80s. He also directed the Goonies Are Good Enough for You music video for Cyndi Lauper. He also did Scrooge, which I think is with Bill Murray. Maverick, with oh my goodness, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me here. So Mel Gibson and James Garner. He also did a Conspiracy Theory, and his last movie, which came in 2006, was called 16 Blocks. But a legendary career. Is arguably probably one of the best genre directors in cinema history. Really enjoyed the Lethal Weapon series. Obviously, the Superman 1 and 2 did a great job on. But Richard Donner, like I said, had it not been for him, really and truly, I don't think we would have the modern comic book, genre in movies. Obviously, he did Superman in 1978, and then it took them nearly 11 years, almost to the date, to do a Batman movie, and that, of course, was Batman '89, Tim Burton, and then we were just off to the races. People will credit Tim Burton and that Batman for launching the superhero genre, but really and truly, JR, I think you would agree with this, is that the Christopher Reeves Superman back in the 1970s was, shoot, they made a man fly. and really and truly, we would not have done, like I said, we would not have Tim Burton's Batman without Superman. And then going forward, we wouldn't have, I honestly believe that we wouldn't have gotten Spider-Man and X-Men without Batman, and Batman led into Blade. And there's, it just goes down. It's a domino effect. But Richard Donner's a great director.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of those things where, like, you see the amount of people that were inspired by the man, and who those people that were inspired, and who the inspired was, and how they made now the current MCU, and of course the current DC EU, as well as all the films before that too. So absolutely, man, like it's definitely Rich Donner. He has definitely planted a lot of seeds within just the movie community in general.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, we lost a heavyweight in this regard. And my hat's off to you, sir. Godspeed to wherever you go. And yeah, man.
And like I said, in Jeremy made a great point. Kevin Feige came out over the this morning and said that he got to work with Richard Donner on a couple of projects, and really kind of helped him. And actually, I think they said that he actually, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't get credit for, I don't think. Let me look. But you look as a producer. No, he actually is a producer on X-Men Origins Wolverine. And of all things funny too, Any Given Sunday. But but no, that they because I know that Kevin Feige, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'll look up on IMDb again, is I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Feige, that was one of the first big movies that he produced in this genre, was Bryan Singer's original X-Men series. But I know that, like I said, Kevin Feige spoke this morning via social media that Kevin Feige, Stan Lee, and Richard Donner all listed as executive producers on the original X-Men movie.
Whom, of course, X-Men 1 with Famke Johnson, not Vera Farmiga.
There you go, brought it full circle, bro. Feige talked about how that he was very inspired by Richard Donner, and they worked together on different projects, and I think he said he took one of his classes or something. I don't know. Nonetheless, hats off to you, sir. Again, Godspeed to him and his family. 91, he lived a good one, and you can't. There's nothing to laugh about. 91 years on this earth. So congratulations on all your success, and my condolences to his family. And well, I don't mean to end on a downer, but I think there's no other better way than to dedicate episode 51 to the legendary Richard Donner. And let us know in the comments below, what's your favorite Richard Donner movie? Is it The Goonies? Is it Superman 1? Is it the Lethal Weapon movies, or Conspiracy Theory? That was a great flick back in the day. Maybe it doesn't hold up to this day. I know people are kind of hot and cold about Mel Gibson, but back in 1997, that was a great flick. And that was, it really kind of made you think a little. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for supporting the show. We will bring you a wrap up of episode 5 of Loki coming out later this week. And we are still in debate about what we're going to do with episode 52. If we are going to do a Black Widow recap, I think we'll play it by ear to see if they want to do the hashtag Don't Spoil Black Widow for Us campaign. Guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy belated Independence Day. And to all of our friends who are listening to us over in the UK, scoreboard, bros. I had to say, I saw so many.
This is Jerry, and I do not approve this message.
I saw so many people this past week say Happy Treason Day, you ungrateful colonials, and I thought, I ain't mad at it. I got no problem with that. It's all a good fun. But Happy Independence Day! Thank you to all the men and women of the armed forces that make this, this country free.
If they said that, bro, you know what? Yeah, scoreboard, bitch, scoreboard.
All right, guys, have a great one. He is Jared Cabacungan, the Dark King. I am the voice of reason. Kevin Pillow. As always, be nice to everyone. Wear your damn masks when you're out in public. Yes, still, we're talking about that. And of course, as always, peace.
Peace. Bro, I've been starving.